Hello, everybody. Global Warming Skeptic here, and welcome to another episode of Secular Bullshit. Anyhow, Kyle Kalinske can't stop putting his foot in his mouth, can he? Here he goes again, talking about Hillary Clinton being called a bigot. Now, in this one, I don't think I need to play it, but we're going to play it anyhow, because we'll run through some of this at least, because at some point context has to matter. Okay, let's just listen to him and then I'll respond.
Trump can't stop calling Hillary Clinton a bigot. Here he is on CNN. Let's watch.
You called last Clinton a bigot. Previously, you called her policies bigoted. You've directly called her a bigot.
Well, she's a bigot because you look at what's happening to the inner cities. You look at what's happening to African Americans and Hispanics in this country, where she talks all the time. She's talking, look at the vets, where she said the vets are being treated essentially just fine, that it's over-exaggerated what's happening to the vets not so long ago.
But how is she bigoted? Bigoted is,
well, because
having hatred
because
toward
she's
a particular
selling
group.
them down the tubes, because she's not doing anything for those communities. She talks a good game,
So
but she doesn't do anything.
She has hatred or
her policies
or
are
dislike of black
bigoted.
people?
Her policies are bigoted because she knows they're not going to work.
But you're saying she is personally bigoted.
Well, she is. Of course she is. Her policies, they're her policies. She comes out with the policies, and others that believe like she does also. But she came out with policies over the years. This is over the years, long time. She's totally bigoted. There's no question about
But it does
that.
imply
Look at
that
what
she has antipathy, she has hatred toward, in this case, I guess you're talking about African
I
Americans.
think she has been extremely bad for African Americans. I think she's been extremely bad for Hispanics. You look at what's happened with her policies and the policies of President Obama and others. Look at the poverty. Look at the rise in poverty. Look at the rise in violence.
But hatred is at the core of that, or dislike of African Americans?
Or maybe she's lazy.
Okay, now before we get to Kyle, I'd like to point out something briefly so that this could be palatable. Listen to CNN's reaction to Hillary being called a bigot. Now, if you listen to that, think about that being flipped around. CNN talking to a Republican and asking if they are a racist, if their policies support racism. Again, keyword, no context involved. They throw it out there. They say, is this racist? Is this sexist? Is this bigoted? Is this homophobic? Is this anti-Semitic? Now, I want you to think about that, because when it's Donald Trump accusing Hillary Clinton of being a bigot, now it's flipped around, and now context suddenly matters to CNN. It didn't matter before. It did not matter before, because, like, for example, the voter ID issue, how the liberal media will call Republicans racist for it. Where is the evidence that this is motivated by racial hatred, white supremacy, or any of that? Where's the evidence for that? We're supposed to believe that they don't need evidence because there's a super secret, I guess you'd call it like, microaggression movement against black people, because there's not evidence of it outwardly, so they're just inwardly racist. So now all of a sudden, context matters. Okay, but I want you to listen to how Kyle responds to this.
Okay, I enjoy listening to Donald Trump because it's just a stream of consciousness, and the way he speaks is entertaining. I mean, there's no there, but it's just, maybe she's lazy. Like, it's just disparate thoughts that are, like, picked out of the air. Bigot. Lazy. So, Anderson Cooper had an opportunity there. I wish he pressed just a little bit more, and he said something like, okay, you say her policies are bigoted. Name one policy of hers that is bigoted. Because he would have
let's skip ahead a little bit.
He wouldn't have been able to answer, bring up, actually what he brought up the day after. We found something that maybe we could call bigoted. and they ran with it. They made an ad out of it. But obviously there was the case where Hillary Clinton used the term super predator. Yes, to talk about young black criminals. That is a bigoted term. That is a racist term. It's a term, by the way, that was made up by a Republican politician. And the Republicans were running with it, and that was their big thing. But yeah, this shows her being a terrible, terrible sellout to the right and running for the right as she's done her entire career. And she used that term. Okay, so there's...
Now listen to how Kyle softens up Hillary Clinton talking about super predators. He'll go on a little bit later to talk about mass incarceration, which is a good thing that he brings that up. But the reality is, listen to how he's trying to soften that up to make Hillary Clinton more palatable, more tolerable. Because it's like I said to you guys before. It isn't about glorifying Hillary Clinton. He knows he can't do that. The Young Turks know they can't do that. The media knows, at least a lot of the media knows, they can't glorify her because she has a lot of negative publicity. So it's all based on a two-pronged strategy. Number one, don't necessarily make her likable, but make her palatable. Make her seem tolerable. It's the whole Obama effect from 2012. Like, okay, we didn't like Obama, but he is tolerable. And the same thing's happening here. Kyle Kulinski is trying to make Hillary Clinton palatable, and the other prong of this strategy is to get people to vote out of spite for the other side. Which, it actually does two things. And see, you're never going to hear this from Kyle, because he said in previous videos, that's not a bad thing to vote out of spite. But you vote out of spite, you encourage people to vote out of spite for two reasons. Number one, of course, to get the tolerable candidate in. Number two, to eliminate third-party support. Because if you're voting out of spite, a vote for anybody else other than the other main candidate is a vote for the candidate you hate. Because you're not voting for something, you're voting against it. And that's how the majority parties keep their power, is that it's based on being anti-something. And that's why the libertarians, even now, despite a huge percentage of people having libertarian values, the Libertarian Party itself gets very few votes. There's other reasons, but I won't get into that. But it's interesting. And, of course, the other big thing is Kyle just buys into this CNN rhetoric. He just laps it up, let me tell you. On one hand, he says, mass media, all bad, mass media. And then all of a sudden, when it comes to Donald Trump, it's like, I don't give a damn. It's criticism of Trump, so let me just throw it out there, see if it sticks. Let's listen to a little bit more, because I think I had a little bit more to say on this.
A fair point right there. Now, again, do I think Trump knew this at the time, or he was thinking this at the time when he's calling her a bigot? Increased mass incarceration and locked up many, many black people around the country there. But again, does Trump know this in the back and forth with Anderson? No, he's talking out of his ass. That's why at the end he's like, when Anderson's like, okay, but you're saying that, she's a bigot based on, hatred? She has particular hatred for minority communities? Trump's like, or lazy. Like, what the fuck is that? So no, he doesn't know it. If you think that's what's going on in reading between the lines, if Anderson Cooper asks him, right there, name one policy that of Hillary Clinton's that is bigoted, he wouldn't have an answer. So, but we're missing the bigger point here.
Here it comes.
The bigger point is Donald Trump lecturing anybody about their bigotry is like Dick Cheney giving a conference on morality. That's what that is. It's Bill Cosby doing a speech that is anti-sexual assault. Because, Donald, you have to be self-aware enough to understand who you are and what you've done. This is a guy who says, let's ban all Muslims from coming into the United States of America. That is a policy that is pretty much the definition of bigotry. I'm gonna ban all. ISIS exists, Al-Qaeda exists, Boko Haram exists, Al-Shabaab exists. So since they exist, I'm gonna ban all Muslims. So nuance, details, differences between different Muslim communities. Am I gonna ban Sufi Muslims because Salafi Muslims exist? Yeah, close enough. Close enough. How about Ahmadiyya Muslims? Am I going to ban them? Am I going to ban moderate Sunnis and Shias? Again, because Salafi jihadists exist, I'm going to ban them all. I'm going to ban them all. I'm going to ban them all. That's what I'm going to do. Dude, that's a little bigoted. Oh, no, how dare you say that? Hillary Clinton's a bigot. You said you want to ban all Muslims? All Muslims. There's 1.6 billion Muslims on the planet. All of them. All of them. All of them. All of them. So Muslims who are super secular, Muslims who are super liberal, Malala Yousafzai, people like a fucking Nobel Peace Prize winner, I don't care. They're Muslim. What am I gonna do?
No, I just want to play that whole thing just to note the whole irony here. I guess self-proclaimed king of nuance going, all Muslims, all Muslims, all Muslims, rah, rah, throwing his hands around like a fucking ape. Seriously, Kyle? Now, and I'd like to point out, this is the bigger thing here, that, again, we're talking about the definition of bigotry being hatred of a particular group of people. Now, whether you want to agree that this is based on ignorance or not, that's a fair point. That Trump is being overly general against too many groups of Muslims. I would, there's a point to be made for that, but then again, Kyle, you also have to understand the nuance of the situation by asking yourself this question. Which of those groups does not use the Quran as the interpretation of how they should live their lives? You won't find any, because that's how Muslims are. If you look at the founding of Islam, it is founded as a wartime religion, a religion of conquest. That's what Islam is. Now, there's a point to be made that yes, it's evolved, and there are a lot of moderate secular forms with very, very, very loose interpretations of the Quran that, which is not based on historical narrative, but, they try and, take out all the parts that say, kill all infidels. And that's not like the Bible, which the Bible uses historical narrative. Those were the laws of Israel for a different time. But in the Quran, it's not written in that kind of context. That the Quran is more of a book filled with commandments rather than book filled with historical narratives and actions. It's a very different work than the Bible. But aside from all that, and you could talk about that for hours and hours and hours, the reality is, when it comes to Hillary Clinton, the nuance of the word bigot matters. When it comes to Donald Trump, it's sling the term at every policy Trump stands for and hope that it sticks. You're throwing mud, Kyle. That's what you're doing. You're throwing mud, and whatever sticks, sticks. You don't care about the truth. You can kid your fans, Kyle, but you can't kid me. You're not going to kid me because I'm not a fan of your show. Okay? I know your tricks because I've seen them, I've read them, I've heard them. I read from academic literature. And I'm not partial toward any ideology. Whatever works, works. I don't care if it's liberal, conservative, libertarian, or what. Anarchist, I don't care. But here's the thing. I'm kind of rambling on too much, but the point I'm making is start applying the standard that you apply to Hillary Clinton to Donald Trump. If you're going to use nuance for the word bigot, then stop throwing it around until it sticks when it's for candidates you don't support. If you want to use the idiotic interpretation of bigot and just throw it around, then apply that universally. Which would mean if Trump calls Hillary a bigot based on her policies, it doesn't matter what he means. If it sticks, it sticks. That's the point. Thanks for listening. God bless.